health department actually recommends avoiding the heat during the extreme temperatures because it actually forces your body to work a whole lot harder. Lieutenant Albert says the SWAT team is only called out about 8 to 12 times a year, but he says they have to be ready to go at a moment's notice. The director says there are a number of support staff and volunteers on hand to give children the opportunity to have an awesome summer camp experience. Givern says many of the 250 artists participating this year actually have formal artist training, whereas some are just novices here for the fun. In Wausau, Margo Spann, News Channel 7. This little guy can't actually fly, but he and 24 of his closest friends have been landing in yards all over Wisconsin Rapids.
If someone wakes up in the morning and sees those birds out there, it kind of brightens up their day.
For a donation, the Wisconsin Rapids figure skating team will post 25 to 50 of the plastic flamingos in someone's yard as a surprise.
During the daytime, we find a house that we're going to flock, and we drive by it, and we make, we find out if there are any dogs, and we look at the yard and decide where we're going to park, and what is going to be the easiest way to do it. So then later at night, we all come over to somebody's house, and we paint our faces and put on our black clothes and our camouflage hats, pile into the car with all the flamingos, and then we go to the house.
Once you've been flocked, you have the option to send them to a friend or have the team pick them up. And of course, no birds were harmed during this fundraiser.
We did have one incident where a gentleman didn't know who had done it, and he took them to the dump. But then another gentleman who actually found them when he was dumping them, he said he would take them for a party. Then he saw the packet and he called me, so we did get all our birds back.
You can surprise someone you know with a flock of unfeathered friends for about $15. In Wisconsin Rapids, Margo Spann, News Channel 7. Cliff Hoffman and his family take great pride in their backyard. His nephew was married there, and for the last 13 years, his family has celebrated the 4th of July there. His wife Tammy enjoys gardening, but in a matter of days, the rain had washed away most of what they had accomplished.
Anybody who knew what our backyard looked like prior to this has come over and just shook their head, and it's unbelievable.
Tammy Hoffman grew up in this house and says she's never seen anything like this ever happen before. Her husband Cliff says despite faithfully paying their homeowner's insurance, the company isn't forking over a dime.
We do have homeowner's insurance, but we were told that due to land shifting or movement, insurance will not cover any kind of damage back here.
Hoffman says his neighbors have come to his aid and have been helping them rebuild their yard. He says some of the contractors pulled their workers from other jobs to help the family secure their home.
We're going to fill it in with all this big stone, and then we're going to come back with some smaller 6-inch to 2-inch stone and fill in the gaps between the rock, and then we'll see where we're at from there.
The rain stopped long enough for the Hoffman's house to hold on, and our cameras were rolling when the family experienced another miracle. After being lost for 2 weeks, their 6-year-old pet Louie the lizard emerged.
Thanks to you noticing him outside. It was wonderful. One good thing came out of this. I found my lizard, Louie.
In Medford, Margo Spann, News Channel 7. Investigators combed the Wood County area looking for 2 men reported missing, a 23-year-old Grand Rapids man who had been missing since the 4th of July, and a 21-year-old Wisconsin Rapids man reported missing on Tuesday.
There are some aspects of it which would make us believe that they were taken against their will and held involuntarily.
According to court records, 46-year-old Edward Lamphere told one of the men he was a police officer, handcuffed him, and then knocked him unconscious. The other man says he passed out in his car after a night of drinking and awakened to find himself bound in an unfamiliar garage. The sheriff says one of the men being held escaped to a neighbor's house and called 911. That call prompted officers to respond to a home in the town of Saratoga on Tuesday evening.
I'm anticipating that there's going to be a warrant served sometime today on the residence that is in question where these men may have been held.
Lamphere had a bond hearing in Wood County, and a judge set his bail at $1 million. Court records show both men were bound and repeatedly sexually assaulted. The sheriff says both men are doing well and appear to be healthy.
Unfortunately, many times in these sort of situations, there is a very negative outcome to the situation. I'm extremely thrilled for both the families and certainly for the individuals that are involved in this, that they are alive and well.
Friends of the Grand Rapids man say he is recovering at home with his family. In Wood County, Margo Spann, News Channel 7.
The drug investigation.
The special agent in charge says it took nearly 50 officers from 5 agencies to handle the raids. They executed a search warrant on Lincoln Avenue in Wausau, on Northwestern Avenue in Weston, and at a home and barn in the town of Texas, northeast of Wausau.
We executed 3 separate search warrants today in 3 separate residences in the area, and ended up getting different types of drugs, weapons, currency, assets.
At one of the properties investigators searched today, they also found this, a suspected cockfighting ring. A lieutenant on the scene in the town of Texas says investigators found methamphetamine there and about 100 chickens. He said 2 of the roosters were fighting when they arrived on the property. Agent Forsyth says they called social services to handle a number of children found at the locations.
There was 1 taken from here. I know that there was also some others at the other locations, but I don't know how many for sure. So.
Investigators wouldn't say what amount of drugs or cash was recovered, but say more arrests may follow. In Marathon County, Margo Spann, News Channel 7.